I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Good morning, Cougar Nation. Today is Monday, November 12th. I'm Adrian Ruiz. On this day in 1972, Richard Petty won the 22nd NASCAR Sprint Cup. Now here's what's going on at Hudson Middle. Girls basketball will be at Paul R. Smith tonight. Wish them luck if you see them around campus. Tomorrow, boys soccer will make up the trip out to Paul R. Smith. Book fair is extended through tomorrow, so stop by and get what you've had your eye on before it's gone. The book fair will be open during tomorrow night's literacy night. So come out and enjoy some games and dinner. Now for the weather.
Good morning, Cougar Nation. Today your weather's gonna be like this. With the high, it's gonna be mostly sunny with a high of 77 and a low of 59 and 20% chance of rain. The wind will be over 11 miles per hour and the humidity is 59%. And something fun for you guys. 5 more school days, so Thanksgiving breaks just this week, and then next week we're off. Back to the news desk.
Here's something to motivate your Monday. Don't watch the clock. Do what it does. Keep going. That's it for today's news. Now stay tuned for District Veterans Day ceremony. Don't forget, it's God Schedule Day. Remember, work hard, be kind, smile more.
Which was a process in which we were able to elect people, or at least try to elect people, into office. And that is a freedom that we only have in this country because of our veterans. For them fighting for us to be able to have the right to discuss and to decide who are the people we want to be a part of our decision-making in our government and our local communities. I want to recognize a few people this morning as you're here that I think would be worth noting, especially given that we just had our election. First of all, I'd like to introduce, and you will hear more from him, our Superintendent of Schools, Mr. Kurt Browning. We also have 2 of our school board members here this morning. We have Colleen Bodwin and Miss Cynthia Armstrong. We also have some of our elected officials around the county. We have our property appraiser, Gary Joyner. Our county commissioner, Ron Oakley. I didn't see Ron. We also have our Newport Richey councilman, Matt Murphy. We have our tax collector, Senator Mike Fasano. We have our Newport Richey police chief, DeCanio. From the office of Congressman Bill Arakis, we have Kristen Salas. Thank you for being here. And from Heather Grimes, the clerk, and Paula O'Neill. Are you here, Paula, as well? All right. From her office of the county clerk. And then we have Paula Meckley and the Medal of Honor Convention board members. Would you please stand? So this morning, there will be a number of opportunities for us to celebrate the fact that we are in a country that has freedoms and rights because of the men and women who have served. So this morning, that is what we are going to be honoring, are those people. That's what Veterans Day is all about. I hope on Sunday, maybe you have plans to look around if you haven't been to a parade or a celebration in honor of Veterans Day. This would be a perfect year to make that a part of your routines. It is important that we don't forget the fact that the things that we enjoy do not come without a price. They cost people time, they cost people energy, and in some cases, their lives. So this morning, we're here to celebrate that. So thank you for being here, and thank you for wanting to be a part of this. Would you all stand as we have the presentation of colors, our Pledge of Allegiance, and this is being led by the River.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Our River Ridge Middle and High School chorus is going to be singing our national anthem.
We have honored someone local for their service to our country. Today it's my pleasure to introduce Pasco County's very own Lieutenant Colonel David Tenenbaum. Lieutenant Colonel Tenenbaum graduated from Hudson High School in 1987. Would you please welcome to the stage Lieutenant Colonel Tenenbaum. Lieutenant Colonel Tenenbaum entered the United States Air Force in 1993, earning his commission through the Reserve Officer Training Corps after completing his BS degree in Aviation Business Administration from Embry-Riddle Aeronautical University. He initially served on board the Airborne Warning and Command and Control System, and later as the Operations Officer for the Air Combat Command. He also was the commander of the Regional Contracting Center South at Kandahar Airfield in Afghanistan. Lieutenant Colonel Tenenbaum's assignments have spanned the globe, including tours in support of Operation Iraqi Freedom and Operation Enduring Freedom. He returned home to the U.S. Special Operations Command at MacDill Air Force Base, from which he retired on January 1st, 2004. He earned a master's in administration from Central Michigan University. He also graduated from the National Defense University's Joint Forces Staff College at Norfolk Naval Base and the Air Force's Air Command Staff College, as well as Squadron Officer School at Maxwell Air Force Base in Alabama. He has earned almost 24 military awards and decorations, and among them are the Bronze Star, Defense Meritorious Service Medal, and the Meritorious Service Medal. As is our tradition, during our Veterans Day ceremonies, we like to present Lieutenant Colonel Tenenbaum with a flag of the United States of America that was flown over the United States Capitol. This flag is courtesy of Representative Gus Bilirakis. As I mentioned before, Lieutenant Colonel Tenenbaum is a Hudson High School graduate. As you may recall, last year the Hudson High School ROTC presented every veteran working in the Pasco County school system with a lanyard bearing the name and logo of their branch of service. I'd like to call Hudson High School ROTC cadet Lieutenant Colonel Ezekiel Mercado to the stage to present Lieutenant Colonel Tenenbaum his very own United States Air Force veteran lanyard. Lieutenant Colonel, thank you for your service, and we're glad you're a Pasco product. Thank you very much.
And part of it was driven by the fact that very often in our schools, Veterans Day is overlooked. And a lot of times we would have days off, and that was a controversy actually at the very beginning because people were afraid that we weren't respecting the fact that this was a very special day. And in fact, what we've tried to do instead is to turn it into something where we bring attention to the fact that we have our veterans among us and we should be celebrating them. So this is the 5th year that we've had a celebration like this. And along this entire 5 years, we've had our Supervisor of Elections, Brian Corley, be a part of that. So I'd like Brian to come on up for our next part.
Good morning. Students, who's excited? Good, good. Quick question for you. Number one, a statement and a question. You're part of history right now. You may not realize it, but as Superintendent Browning alluded to, it's a day on, not a day off. Having been in many of the schools over the years, last 12 years, you all have been brutally honest. And you've said for Veterans Day, oftentimes it's a day off, sleep in maybe, play some games, go to the mall. And the superintendent had the vision to make it a day on. It's important that we stop and reflect upon the sacrifices that our veterans have done. You're part of history because with what's happening right now live and being recorded and shown in all the classrooms, approximately, tell me if I got the number right, Superintendent, 72,000-ish. So 72,000 of you all will witness and be part of a Veterans Day ceremony, which is the largest event in all the schools in the entire country. So give yourself a round of applause for that. Today is a special day. Today is a day where we pause to recognize those who wore and wear the uniform of the United States military. It's been said that America is not a country. It's more than that. America is an idea. I love that quote. Let us never forget the sacrifices made by those heroes, and they are heroes, that allow us to live in the greatest country in the world. We do have our problems, sure, but we do, at the end of the day, are the greatest country in the world. Let us honor them every day. And how can you honor them? If you see somebody wearing a uniform, if you're in the store, Walmart or Publix, and you see someone wearing a Vietnam veteran hat or a Korean veteran hat or a veteran hat of any military hat, stop them. Just say, sir, ma'am, thank you. You know what's troubling to me? They're too surprised when you do that. It shouldn't be that way. It should be second nature. So let us please never, ever forget to do that. It's very, very important. I got to tell you from a personal point of privilege, this year is special for me because this time last year, my daughter, Sarah, was in the audience as a senior at River Ridge High School, had delayed entry into the United States Navy. And as I talk to you now, gosh, it's tough to say this, she's right now on her first deployment in the Pacific Ocean on a ship, the United States Navy. She's serving our country. So Sarah Corley, my daughter, is a veteran. I want to briefly talk about a program we've started about a decade ago called Vote in Honor of a Veteran. We started it, and the purpose is to encourage voter registration and participation with our youth. The way it works is we have veterans come in your classrooms. You get to learn firsthand of their experiences, the sacrifices they made, and hopefully the idea is to motivate you that voting in honor of a vet is a way that you can show respect and give back, very simply, by those who gave so much, by registering to vote and voting. We had an election. It's not over yet. Some of these elections are going to be very, very, very close, extremely close. Every vote counts. So by you registering to vote and voting in honor of that veteran, you can literally change history. So that's certainly very, very exciting. At this time, I have the true honor of introducing Petty Officer Valerie Blazewicz, who's going to come up and speak to you all in just a moment. Well, you can applaud now, but wait to hear her resume and her background. You'll applaud even more, I assure you. Petty Officer Blazewicz has served in the United States Navy for nearly 19 years as an electronics technician first class. After completing Recruit Training Command, she was stationed on the USS John F. Kennedy as an identification friend or foe technician from 2001 to 2007, including 2 deployments in response to 9/11. She was also stationed at Mayport Naval Station Air Operations as a GPN-27 air search radar technician. Petty Officer Blazewicz, I have no idea what that means, but that sounds very important. Okay, thank you. She completed a combat deployment to Afghanistan in 2008. She was also stationed at the Joint Communications Support Element at MacDill Air Force Base as an airborne communications technician and a security manager from 2011 to 2017. She also completed Army Airborne School and earned her Navy Gold Wings. She's been assigned to the Navy Recruiting Station in Newport Richey since 2017. And this is pretty cool, she's married to a River Ridge graduate, so that's pretty cool right there, huh? And yeah, give it up. That's applaud. Applause for that. Really. Petty Officer Blazewicz also has a 4-year-old son. I'm guessing a future Pasco District student, right? She has been awarded a Joint Service Commendation Medal, a Navy Commendation Medal, an Army Commendation Medal, 4 Navy Achievement Medals, and an Army Achievement Medal, as well as an enlisted surface warfare badge, an expeditionary warfare badge, and a Navy Recruiter Gold badge as well. I feel very lazy all of a sudden, I apologize. At this time, please join me, ladies and gentlemen, in welcoming Petty Officer Valerie Blazewicz.
72,000, no pressure, right? I run the Navy recruiting station here in Newport Richey. I was actually lucky enough to recruit Brian's daughter and put her in the Navy. Again, no pressure, but she's out doing great things now. I have been in the Navy almost 19 years. I completed 5 deployments, 3 of them combat deployments. I did join the Navy right out of high school. I was 17 when I left. And they asked me to speak about women in the military and females in the military. So not long ago, actually during my service, a governor in the United States actually used a Disney movie to drive down his point that women should not be in the military. He used the movie Mulan, she was a female warrior princess, disguised herself, but ended up falling in love with her commanding officer. And this was his proof that women did not belong in the military. We're just gonna cause problems wherever we go. But women have been serving in the military since the 1700s and 1800s. Now, back then, they had to disguise themselves as men. That's how they got in to serve. So this is nothing new. Since then, the military does have a physical process that we go through, so you can no longer do that. Nurses originally paved the way for us, but near the end of the First World War, women were finally allowed to enlist in the Army and the Navy. During World War II, 400 women lost their lives, and 88 were taken prisoner of war. It may be surprising, but even with all the efforts of the women during these times, women were still not allowed to be in any unit tasked with direct combat. That didn't stop us, but it also prevented us from gaining recognition for that. So in 2015, it was announced that women can now serve on the front lines. This led the public to believe that we had not been doing so. I think it makes people sleep better at night to think that women aren't in harm's way and we're not the ones sacrificing our lives. Before this ban was lifted, 200 females died in Iraq and Afghanistan. At the time, women were making up 3% of military frontline units. But front lines aren't drawn on a map. I've had people approach me and ask me, well, you don't have to go over there, or they just make the men do that stuff, right? But even though they didn't consider us on the front lines, the female supply sergeant who is taking supplies from one base in Iraq to another was on the front lines. And the female medic who was flying to go pick up the wounded soldiers was on the front lines. Ashley White, they wrote a book about her called Ashley's War. She was killed by an improvised explosive device in October 2011. So again, before this ban was lifted. She was killed while she was embedded with the 75th Ranger Regiment. She was on a night mission with the Army Rangers, but yet not considered on the front line. She was later one of the first 2 women to be honored by the National Infantry Museum's Memorial Walk, even though technically she was not allowed to be infantry. For years before the ban was lifted on women serving on the front line, they have already been there. Again, just not receiving the credit. We have always served where the mission demanded. Over 300,000 women have served in Iraq and Afghanistan. More than 10,000 have earned the Combat Action Badge. In 2015, when this ban was lifted and the headline was written, a senator replied by saying, "The decision to open all combat positions to women will have a negative impact on our service members and our military warfighting capability."